Welcome to the Rauta Underground Trio. Once again, we have 3 different styles, 3 different bands, and all that for you to check out in case you're into underground metal. As always, I didn't pay a single dime for these albums. They were sent to me for review purposes, in case you want to know, in case people on YouTube and whatever want to know. What we have here in question is black metal from Germany, death metal from Sweden, and thrash metal from Poland. As mentioned, these are all very different and different places, different scenes. What is, however, curious, the level of quality is not that much different these days, or in this particular case. I mean, sometimes I do get bad one, a mediocre one, and a rather good one in one episode, or then it's all just mediocrity. This time they're all fair decent. I would say all of them are pretty promising, not gold star exactly, but still worth a listen. Each one, that is. However, because it's the nature of Underground Trio videos, I have to put this in some kind of a order from worst to best. So let's do it. But mind you, like I said, there is no real quality difference, just matters of taste and all. So first we'll get to Germany with a band called Auro. Their previous album I got to hear already, was it like 4 years ago? That was good black metal stuff, which I think I still have in my collection, because indeed it was a very promising new band and I liked it. So obviously I was hoping them to come back with another quality release of similar levels and all, but unfortunately this time it's a little bit disappointing. Coming from through Folter Records, this one came out already, I think, August. So, relatively new, very much late part of 2025, but not exactly fresh from the oven anymore. This is indeed second black metal, and once again, melodic in style. One could say pretty much the second wave stuff. Some things have changed, including the lineup. Now it seems to be 6-piece of a band, where I think the previous one was like only 2 members. Don't know really what's been going on. This band, in a way, makes it seem like it's some kind of a side project, because a lot of these guys have other ventures. Don't know how it might have affected creating the second album, but something seems a little bit off compared to the previous ones. Previous one. Now, when I mention all of these are pretty good still, nonetheless, this very much applies to this particular album. So if it's a negative, it's only because I'm comparing this to the previous work, which I liked. Gold standard. Now we're more about silver tier level, because none of this stuff is actually that good as the previous ones. You have some solid melodies, some are definitely better than the others. You have some kind of a basic riff, some decent songwriting and all, but nothing here is making that magical thing that separates the decent stuff from the good stuff. It's not so much like the band style change, but to me it feels like this is a little bit more leftovers compared to the previous ones, or maybe there is just too many people, doing the whole thing and it's a little bit of unfocused. Like the basic thing what is going on here is definitely with those melodies, which are nailing it. Now this is not exactly anything like mid-tempo or super fast, but somewhere on the more high-tempo department. But like I said, nothing here really sticks out like, hey, this is the real good stuff. This is a great melody. This is a great song. This is really good. Everything here is like doing their job just fine, but the rest of it is just like run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. Very easy to listen to, but kind of too easy to just think it like, okay, it's a decent album, next one. So, worth checking out, but don't expect too much. Then, only barely better is this band Sanghrial. Seems to be the debut album by this band, and when I was listening to it for the first time, I didn't have any idea where this band is coming from. I was just thinking, this sounds so goddamn Swedish. And when I was checking out the information for the review purposes, so this is actually Swedish sounding death metal. Now, you might think that this is a direct continuation or successor to bands like Early Entombed, Dismember, Grave and all that stuff. And in a way, you wouldn't be wrong. I mean, it's almost like these guys decided like, hey, let's continue with the style that was born back in the days. Now, one thing is kind of funny is that this band has people from Entrails, another old school death metal band from Sweden, already started 1990s. However, these people who are in the band Entrails are not original ones. But that is one of those bands that definitely has the so-called Sunlight Studio sound. Those who know the reference know what I mean, like when I say it. Also, the so-called Boss HM2 pedal sound, you know, kind of stuff. Now, this is not so much HM2 sounding album, so there's the difference between their typical Sunlight Studio or HM2 sound. But when it comes to the songwriting part and the general idea how Swedish death metal is supposed to sound, this is like the bulk release from that one. Now, everything sounds pretty nice. Everything is like, you get the right kind of riffs, you got the right kind of growl vocals, you got the idea how these songs are supposed to like, and then you're like, so what about it? Should I get excited? Yes, if you really like the goddamn subgenre, the Swedish style and all, but if you are something like, I need something special, I only go for the cream de la cream, and the rest can just like, okay, wait its turn, then Sanghrial might not be the thing. I mean, I like how nicely they do the old school Swedish death metal sound, but apart from that, there is nothing really that sticks that as much. This is not gonna challenge albums like Clandestine or Left Hand Path or any of those early or even later Dismember Grave albums. I mean, it does its job, but then you're like, how about some originality? How about some really great songs? And that's what this album, my friends, is missing. But like I said, still a fair, decent release. So why this album by band Species is the best of the pile? The second album by these Polish progressive technical thrash act. First of all, let's look at these guys. What the hell? I could imagine these guys are doing some kind of adult-oriented prog rock. It doesn't really, sell me the whole thing here. And at first I was like, okay, I don't know what to expect because this is not exactly the most easy to digest kind of a thing. So what really sold this album to me is how they do put these more progressive and technical ideas in the game. It's not like it's super technical. It's actually pretty easy to follow without getting too proggy and all. But they do have something out of ordinary when you compare it to a more like traditional thrash metal thing. Whether you call it, the American Big Four with Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax kind of a thing, or go for the German style, German Four, Sodom, Destruction, Creator, Tankard. This is definitely more on the progressive side of thing, and then the technicality thing. Now, there was one band that came to my mind rather instantaneously when I was giving to listen to this Species album, but that is coming from Death Metal Department, and this later era Death. I was definitely figuring out like this is almost like a thrash metal equivalent to later Death, just with more like screamy vocals and obviously thrasher riffings and being less heavy than your typical death metal thing. And that then again gave me idea, maybe that's for the kind of audience who like Voivod. Now, when I was checking out Metal Archive's site, once again, for information and links, which are of course included in the description box, which bands were mentioned. Yes, Death and Voivod. But on top of that, the most voted similar artist to Species was actually Corner, who just came recently out with a new album too. So in case you're a fan of Voivod or Coroner or even Death for that matter, maybe Species is your cup of tea. I find it refreshing because they don't sound to me like any kind of typical thrash metal act. The only thing they are missing is really those killer songs. But it's very, very refreshing thing, and that really became the main reason why I decided to put this on the top of the pile for this particular episode. I'm not saying it's outright and clearly better than the rest of the albums which I featured here, but sometimes when you have two albums on the similar or same level and you're like, which one I would really vouch for more and for which reason, sometimes originality or something that these guys do a little bit more unique stuff as compared to the others wins the game, and that's the reasons for Species. But like I said, these are all in my books the same silver tier level, so all decent stuff, no big complaints whatsoever. As mentioned, Links to these band pages, social media, Metal Archives links are included in the description box. Now go for your favorites. I hope you like some of them, but if you don't, well, tough luck and all. See you soon with more reviews coming your way.